Hey, what's up, everybody? Good morning. I'm Jacob Soboroff. It is Saturday, July 11th, and you are watching Connect. I'm excited to be back with you. We have got so much to talk about today, but I want to start with the battle to reclaim the Senate. It was not supposed to be this hard, or so the Democrats thought. It was never a guarantee, though less than a week ago, Democrats were feeling pretty good about their chances to retake the Senate. And the thing is, the party's path to the upper chamber runs right through Maine. And now there is a major roadblock. Graham Plattner's campaign for Senate imploded. The progressive outsider has dodged a swarm of controversies throughout his run, and this week he announced he was dropping out of the race after being accused of sexual assault. He denies the allegation. Plattner formally withdrew his candidacy yesterday, according to state election officials, so now Democrats are racing against the clock to find a new nominee to go up against Republican incumbent Susan Collins before the July 27th deadline. And the Democrats can't really afford to lose this race. Republicans currently hold a 53-47 Senate majority. To take control of the Senate in November's midterm elections, Democrats have to flip 4 Republican-held seats while defending all of theirs. So here's the deal. Maine is a widely considered must-win target. Let's take a look at the Senate map and the math behind Democrats' path to a majority. Democrats see opportunities to flip a seat in Alaska and in Maine, North Carolina, and in Ohio. Iowa and Texas lean Republican, according to the MS Now elections unit, but it could be potentially surprise wins for Democrats. And now it is the question of who replaces Graham Plattner as Maine's Democratic Senate nominee. State law leaves the nitty-gritty of how that goes up to the party itself, and the Democratic Party says it plans to hold a nominating convention. A group of 600 delegates, primarily made up of local party officials from around the state, they're going to come together to pick this new nominee. As for how the convention's going to work, we still don't exactly know. The state Democratic Party has not shared specific details on that procedure or when the convention might happen. And this kind of convention, I have to say, to replace a nominee for U.S. Senate is uncharted territory. Some people who have already thrown their names in the ring are Troy Jackson, the former candidate for governor, Nirav Shah, former state public health director, Sheena Bellows, Maine's Secretary of State, and Dan Kleben, the co-founder of Maine Beer Company. Joining me now is Democratic Congresswoman Chellie Pingree of Maine. She is a member of the House Appropriations Committee and the Agriculture Committee. Good morning. Thanks for being here.
Sure. Thanks so much for having me.
On Friday, Graham Plattner shared this letter formally resigning from the race on X. Let's take a look at it, because he wrote, in part, quote, "People are desperate for change, for this broken system to be righted, for the American experiment to be furthered. My name may have been on the ballot, but that ballot line belongs to the people of Maine." It was not lost on me or to us here that his letter did not mention an apology. What do you see? I mean, what's your response to this letter of resignation?
Look, I think a lot of people were surprised that there were no apologies involved. There was no mention of the women. But the fact is, I also completely understand that we are in the midst of a turmoil here, that he generated an enormous amount of excitement, that the policies he represented are the progressive policies that myself and so many others and the candidates who are running now are getting behind. So when he said, this is the line on the ballot, we're all taking him literally on that and saying, how can we make sure we get somebody else's name on that ballot as soon as possible and do it in a way that seems fair and transparent and includes as many of the people who got excited about his campaign, which was huge in our state, so that we can move forward and meet the ultimate goal, which, as you said, means that if we want a Democratic majority in the Senate, which is absolutely crucial, Mainers completely understand the devastation that's being brought down on our state and everywhere else by the policies of the Trump administration and a Republican House and Senate that are going along with it. So as we say in Maine, all hands on deck, full speed ahead. We are working as hard as we possibly can. And I'm not even, I'm not the state party chair. I'm just, a Democratic elected official. But we all have a very much of an engaged shared purpose here.
You may not be the state party chair, but I do have a feeling that perhaps you might have some insight into this nominating convention. What do you know about it, or what would you like to see as far as the process of replacing Graham Plattner?
Yeah, well, they've had about 1 million conversations with, activists, voters, people on the outside of our state, all who are going to put their thumb on the scale or weigh in on this. And hey, let's just be clear. It is not easy to suddenly replace someone on the line 4 months out with all the constrictions that we already have in law. We had to have a resignation from Graham Plattner, which came through, and then we have to have a candidate chosen by the 27th. And people have said to me, like, hey, there were huge numbers of voters. Can't we just run the primary again? Primaries are run by the state, not the party. Right. It takes forever to print a ballot. Like, there's a lot of magical thinking going on the outside. And there's a lot of, as I say, people who just want to weigh in on what we should do in the state of Maine. We're 1.4 million people. We are very independent. We have good common sense and good judgment. And so the idea of coming together with a convention, which we've done, for years, we used to be a caucus state, not a primary state.
Right.
I think delegates at the county committee, people ask me about it a lot. And I say, well, you've never gone to a county committee meeting because for most people, they wouldn't give up their Saturday afternoon. You wouldn't go to the state convention in May because you want to be out, mowing your lawn or taking your kids hiking. So the fact is, a lot of people haven't engaged in this process before, but it's not some magical, crazy process. Nobody from Washington is telling us what to do, and we don't intend to let them. The state party has met for hours, with the lawyers and everyone trying to figure out what's legal. How can we do it as fast as we can? So I don't want to overemphasize it or be defensive about anything, but geez, people are trying as hard as they can. And, if you look at the videos Charlie Digman, our, party chair made, it's earnest. It's like, we want you all to come. We want you to go to your county committee, run to be a delegate, and then come and make sure you support the candidate of your choice. And you had you showed quite a few of them there. These are highly progressive people. They're, some of them just ran a governor's race, and there are others who were in the second CD race. There are a lot of people who, are putting their hat forward and are going to get their 500 signatures and be there at the convention to run.
Let's put that image of all the candidates back up on the screen for 1 second. Of the folks that you see here, Troy Jackson and Nirav Shah and Shenna Bellows and Dan Kleban, is there someone in particular that you would like to see emerge just on an individual level, or anybody else who hasn't thrown their hat in the ring yet that you would like to see enter?
Well, look, we've got a great bench, and I never engage in primaries. This is going to be up to the people who choose to be a delegate, get elected, and go in there and, use the wisdom of their experience. We're all hoping that there will be some televised debates with the candidates so we can really get into the nitty-gritty of the issues. As I said, some of them have been running already, so their past and their record is out there, and I hope there will continue to be an evaluation of everybody's record and experience. But it's not up to me. I won't even be a delegate. Maybe I'll come and watch because it'll be an amazing day for Maine and the complications that we're going through. But I'm not putting my thumb on the scale either.
Do you have confidence that this process will be a democratic one, that the people of Maine ultimately will have the full faith in whoever emerges as the nominee for Senate? And is there even enough? There's PTSD, I think, for a lot of people of watching the last presidential election and sort of seeing a rerun here happening in Maine. Do you have faith that everybody's going to be able to unite around this one person, whoever they are?
Oh, I think there'll be a lot of uniting around this person. Look, if there's one thing that's happening right now, and you've seen it in other states, but certainly true in ours, huge turnout in this Democratic primary where we had a governor's race. Both of our congressional districts are up for, votes this year. I think there'll be huge turnout. I think people want to have a say. And I think there'll be continued involvement. Again, I've been a little critical of the people outside our state, writing columns and saying, what does Maine know? And, Chuck Schumer's stationed up there. And no, it's not like that here. And we are very grassroots and very engaged. And I think we will continue to be with busy, active campaigns where people know how high the stakes are. So again, I can't guarantee that everybody feels like it's a perfect process because they got to go to their local polling place and, fill out a ballot last time and maybe felt they had more say. But I know that they're trying to figure out within the constraints, will we have ranked choice voting or instant runoff, something so we actually do get to a majority in the end. All those things are being sorted out literally as we speak. But I think everyone's trying as hard as they can. And again, I'm not trying to be an apologist. I'm trying to just say, hey, we're a little state and we've handled elections and caucuses and conventions for a long time. And we've got a good bench of earnest people who want to run. And now our goal is just to get a candidate and then work our asses off until November to make sure we have a Democratic sweep this year.